Some of you online may not be aware of the changes that we're making today, but we have the Campbells with us from Ecuador. So we're super glad to have them with us. They've been here since Tuesday. We've gotten to do a lot of things, and they've gotten to spend a lot of time with us and with other friends. And this morning they're going to do a presentation on just updates for what they're doing in Ecuador. And so I don't want to take up their time. I will quickly hand it over. If you guys have prayer requests, give those to Dave. Dave has our closing prayer today. I'm not going to take up time at the beginning because that's usually like an 8 to 10 minute process, and I want to give the Campbells all the time that we can. So with that said, we've been supporting the Campbells here as a congregation for, is it 9 or 10 years now? 12 years? Holy cow, time flies. Okay, for 12 years. So originally they were going to go to Angola, and they went to Portugal to learn Portuguese. I'm so tired. We had a pig roast last night, or 2 nights ago. See, I don't even know what day it is. It was yesterday. We started 2 days ago, so I'm running on very little sleep. But we started supporting you guys whenever you went to Portugal, and then they ended up switching gears and wound up in Ecuador, where they still are to this day. They've been doing a great work. 2 years ago, this congregation took a group of 10. We went to Ecuador to visit with the Campbells, and we did a work camp there, had a blast, did a lot of really cool work. And we're just grateful that the Campbells are here with us, and looking forward to hear what you guys have to say. I am going to just say a quick prayer, and then you guys can jump in and do your presentation. God, we come before you and just lift up the Campbells. We're so grateful that they're back here in the States, that they've had safe travels. And God, we're thankful for the work that the whole Campbell family does. Rusty and Laura have been just incredible leaders at the camp and have done great things for the kingdom. And we look forward to hearing what they're doing and what's happened in the last couple years since we've seen them. And God, I just pray your blessing over them, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. There you go. Now you're
all right. Am I on now? Do I even need it? What? Do I even need the mic?
Yeah, for online.
Okay. Well, good morning. It's a blessing to be here with you all again. We get to stop about once every 2 years to visit with you all. This is the first time we have come in this time of the year, and it's wonderful to see how beautiful it is when there's no snow on the ground. We are blessed to be here with you. We are masking. We've been to Chicago, Detroit, Boston, New York, near Rochester. We went to Bellefonte. We're here. We're going back to Detroit, Chicago, Arkansas, Texas, Arkansas, Detroit, Seattle. And so we're getting around. And so we're just trying to do our best to protect our family and everybody that we come in contact with. So anyways, we appreciate your understanding there. I'm going to pass this off to Laura, and she's going to kick us off with the presentation this morning. This is the dress rehearsal. We've not actually done this particular one yet, so we don't know how long it's going to take, but we'll try and stay within our time parameters as best we can. So thank you all again, and I'll pass it off to you.
Is this on? Yeah? DP, are we good? Yes? Hello? Okay.
Speak loud.
Good morning, everyone. We're glad to be with you guys today. Thank you for the opportunity to share about what we do in Ecuador, what God is doing there in Ecuador, and especially these past 2 years as we've been in the middle of a pandemic. You know, I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not know what's been going on with the pandemic, but it has affected all of us all over the world, and we're going to share a little bit with you guys today about how our ministry has changed over the last couple of years as we've been dealing with the pandemic. So this is us. This is our family. Most of you know us. There are a few new faces here. So just by quick way of introduction, Rusty, my husband, Laura, and our 4 kids. We have Alex, Stephen, Benjamin, and Elizabeth. And as Jimmy said, this church has been supporting us for 12 years. So when you first took us on, we had 2 little kids, and now 2 of them are taller than me. So you've been able to watch our family kind of grow up and grow larger over the last 12 years. We have been in Ecuador now. It'll be 10 years in April. So we're coming up on 1 decade of working in Ecuador. A little bit about the camp and the Camp Bellevue and the Bellevue Foundation, which is basically the nonprofit that we help run in Ecuador. A big part of it involves the camp. When we tell people it's a Christian camp, we always have to qualify that by saying it's much more than a camp. So we do traditional church camps, Bible camps for kids and youth in the summer, but during the year we are doing so much more, and so we're going to share a little bit with you today about what those other activities are. We are overseen and primarily funded at the camp by the Bellevue Church of Christ in Washington State. So. We always like to let everyone know as we're doing these presentations that this is the work, we're reporting on the work that the camp does, which is not just Rusty and Laura. So as we report on this, please don't think, wow, what great people, they're doing all this work, they're superheroes. No, we are not. We have a staff of people that help us do many of these things.
We're not like Jimmy Hinton. We're not superheroes.
They are pictured here. You can see most of these people are still with us. There are a couple that have now left and moved on. But they help us do all of the things that we're going to be talking to you about. And then here we have the 3 people that really comprise our leadership team. Saber, who is with us there on the left, he is the accountant and kind of the general manager of the camp. He deals with employee issues, payroll, things like that. He keeps the books. Does all those kinds of things. He's really a great asset to us there at the camp. And then on the right, the couple on the right is Guillermo and Cindy. And Guillermo is the evangelist. He does a lot of evangelistic work in the community. He works with our kids program. His wife Cindy actually directs the kids program, so she's in charge of all of that. And I kind of step in and assist as needed. But it is Cindy who is the main organizer behind our after-school program. So really thankful for those 3. We couldn't do what we do without them, that's for sure. So we want you guys to know this is not just about us. There are a lot of really wonderful, godly people that help us carry on this work in Ecuador. We like to say that our purpose with the camp is basically threefold. And as we share some of the things that we do, you will notice that there seems to be some overlap between some of the activities. So purpose 1, to serve and bless our community, the community of people right there around the camp. Number 2, to strengthen and build up the churches of Christ in Ecuador. So the churches of Christ all over Ecuador, we see it as one of our missions to strengthen and encourage them. And then finally, to encourage effective partnerships and a passion for missions among churches in North America and Christians in North America. So whatever we are doing at the camp, we are fulfilling one or more of those purposes, and there is a lot of overlap between them. Kind of breaking it down a little more, what do we mean when we say to serve the community? Now, as I go through these next 3 slides, this is what we normally do when we're not in a pandemic, okay? So over the last couple years, a lot of our ministries that we normally do in these areas, we've had to stop doing. And we've had to reimagine how they're gonna look. And we've had to try new things. And some of them have worked, and some of them haven't worked so well. But this is what we normally do for those of you that are new or maybe have forgotten what it is that we do. Serving the community, a big part of what we do there is an after-school program that we run for about 80 to 100 kids. It's weekdays, Monday through Thursday, and it runs during the school year from September to June. Vacation Bible School, we do that in the summer. Various construction projects to help community members with housing needs. Disaster relief, medical and dental clinics. And in all of it, we hope to be meeting spiritual needs through evangelism and making contacts and letting people know about the church and know about Jesus and why we're doing what we're doing. Strengthening the Churches of Christ in Ecuador. Here we have things like our summer camps for children and youth that we do in August. And then evangelism through other projects like LST, which is Let's Start Talking. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but they send teams that teach the Bible by offering English conversation classes. And so people can sign up to have a conversation in English, but the guide that they use is the Bible, and they talk through the Bible and what it means and what it can mean for their life. Medical and dental clinics, construction projects, VBS. Again, you're kind of seeing the overlap there between serving the community and then also strengthening the church. A lot of these projects that we do, we try to do in conjunction with the local church so that that church can be empowered to make contacts in their community as well. Leadership development, so working with Christian leaders and evangelists across our part of Ecuador. Rusty does collaborate a lot with the Bible College in Quito. He teaches classes for some of those students on team building and team dynamics and things like that. And then equipping church planting teams and planting new churches is also a part of what we do. And then the final prong of our purpose, partnering with churches in North America. And here's where you're going to see the camp hosting short-term groups from the U.S. that come down to do short-term mission projects, which is what the group from Somerset came and did with us. Serving our community through the projects done by short-term groups. We wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that we do in the community without the help of the short-term groups. So VBS is a huge undertaking. And the short-term groups come down and they help us pull that off and put that on. Encouraging healthy relationships between church planting teams and their U.S. sponsors. And then the family mission trip, that's a really big, it's become the highlight of the year for our family because we get to have friends come down, we work together all week doing different projects together. And so we want to highlight that especially because it really has become a great, one of our favorite short-term groups that we host.
That was the week Somerset came.
Yes, and Somerset did join us for that family mission trip. We've had kids from all ages come. 4 years old, I think, was the youngest participant.
87.
And then 87-year-old man that came down and helped us. We try to find things for everybody to do, so try to involve the whole family.
He wasn't one of, he was the youngest.
Oh, Isaac, that's right. Isaac is now the youngest. How old was he? 3? He was 4.
He was 4, but he just turned 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, we do try to, that week we try to make it where all the family can get involved and help. And I think if you talk to Jimmy and Natalie about it, they'll say, yeah, their kids were out there with the rest of us, digging holes and moving rocks and, and all that. So, yeah. And now I'm going to pass it on to Rusty, and he's going to talk about how all of this has looked really different over the last 2 years. A lot of the things that we normally do, we haven't been able to do. But we haven't been idle. It's just looked different. A lot of our programs have gone virtual. So Rusty's going to talk about all the different things we've done and the things we've tried over the last 2 years during the pandemic.
Thank you. So where do I need to point this? Anywhere? Anywhere? Okay. All right. So as Laura said, we run a camp, but that camp, it's not like here, church camp. Hi, it's good to see you. Here, church camps, you know, kids come, youth come, they go to Bible camp or whatever. We do so much more than that. We do that, but we do so much more than that. It is a ministry that goes on all year round. And so this is kind of what it's looked like during the pandemic for us, during the last 1.5 to 2 years. We have done a lot of virtual homework help. We typically do an after-school program, as Laura said, but we haven't been able to do that during the pandemic. And so we were offering some homework help online, virtually, for a while. We've done virtual vacation Bible school classes and other programs like, well, we're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but a marriage seminar and other things like that. In-person Christmas party, we had the kids come and actually do an in-person Christmas party. We had to do all the biosecurity things and put all that stuff into place. We passed out food baskets. We've done a garage sale and a clothing sale. And we have done a lot of evangelism as well. And then another thing that we found is a lot of people are leaving Ecuador. For whatever reason, if you've ever moved, you know there's a lot to do at the end, right? And so when you live overseas and you're moving overseas, that's exasperated on some levels. And so we've helped quite a few people leave. We're going to talk a little bit more about each of these, or some more in depth, some of these different things. Passing out food baskets. We received several donations to put together food baskets. We passed them out to kids in our after-school program. We've passed them out to different churches. We actually had one church. We just gave them the money, and they put together their own food basket, all fresh foods, fresh fruits and vegetables. This is mostly, ¿cómo se dice in English? The disposable, not disposable. Staples, yeah. Dry goods, thank you. You know, when you work in another language, sometimes you forget your own language, right? So, but you can see our staff and our kitchen here putting together some of those food baskets and then passing them out to people in the community. One activity that we did, and this was Guillermo and Cindy's idea, I think, was pass out what's called colada morada. It's a hot drink made with blueberries and pineapples and spices, and there's other stuff in there Laura could tell you. And it's a seasonal thing with the bread. What was the pan, right? Baby breads is what they call it. And so they're making the bread, they're mixing up the colada morada, and they're going to go down and they're going to pass this out to about 100 people in our community. And they sent out invitations. They didn't have everybody come that received a ticket to get one of these. So Guillermo had the brilliant idea, let's just go take them to the hospital next door and pass them out to the staff. And they were like, thank you. Like nobody's ever done anything for us like this before. There's a picture of our Christmas program. You can see the social distancing that we put into place. All the kids had to wear masks. We had guys. So Ecuador is a lot more cautious in regards to the pandemic. You know, so we come here, not a lot of people are wearing masks. We go back to Ecuador, everybody will still be masking. In fact, if you go into Quito, the city of Quito without a mask on, it's a $100 fine. If you go into the city of Otavalo without a mask on, it's a $40 fine. That's $40. That's 10% of a minimum wage salary, monthly salary. So I don't know any of us that would be willing to pay a fine on 10% of whatever our monthly income is. Okay, so but that's the situation that we're in. And so we had guys at the Christmas party walking around with their spray guns, you know, and spraying kids' hands, and everybody was wearing masks. You got to take your temperature. You go to the grocery store, you still need to take your temperature, have a mask on, and put on sanitizer on your hands. So that's just how it is where we are. We had a group come in and help with another kids program that did a drum program, and they put together this great program for the kids. We had a guy on stilts come in, you know, he was like, his stilts were taller than me, and he was walking around beating a drum and stuff. It was pretty cool. We had an American friend who was married to an Ecuadorian man, and he passed away several years ago, pre-COVID, from cancer, and she's now in the States, in Maryland or someplace, and she's got two girls about the age of our two oldest boys, and she needed help selling things. And so we basically did an estate sale for her. As James talks about, pure religion is taking care of widows and orphans, and so we just feel like this was kind of an outreach of our ministry to help her liquidate her stuff and generate a little bit of income for her. Her husband had an extensive theological library, literally thousands of books, all in English, believe it or not, this guy, Ecuadorian man, spoke great English. All of his books are in English. I was the only one that could really do anything with those books. So that took quite a while to go through those books. But they are now packed up, and most of those have been donated to a Bible college in Quito. That was the wish of the family. We have a lot of people donate clothes to our program. I don't know if you all pass out items of clothing to people in the community that are in need. We do a lot of that, and sometimes we have so much of it that we end up having a sale about once or twice a year, and the money from that sale just goes right back into our kids program. And so that's what this is a picture of. I think we generated, how much? Over $1,000 the last one. And these are people coming and paying $1 for a pair of jeans. And we've just found that when they have to give something back, they're more likely to take care of it. If you just give handouts all the time, they don't take care of it. But it also gives them a little bit more pride knowing that, I spent my money to purchase this. And so this is a great way, and we typically only open this up to families who have children in our program. And so it's a great way to serve those families. Okay, so how do we help the churches and work with the churches during the pandemic? That was more community stuff. Now we're going to talk about churches. So Guillermo, really our co-worker, has done a lot of Zoom church meetings and organized joint worship services with churches all over Latin America. We've had people preach from the United States and El Salvador and maybe even Chile. We had a guy in Brazil who's actually speaks Spanish. He's originally from Ecuador. He's preached many times and done Bible classes for the church there. And we've done a lot of teaching, a lot of different, we go more into depth about each of these things, so I'll talk a little bit more about those. Leadership development and equipping evangelists and church planters with the food baskets and with other types of things. This is a picture of an English Bible camp. We did virtual English camp with Let's Start Talking for 2 weeks in, what year are we in, 2021? So in 2020, thank you, something like that. So this, in 2020, the summer of 2020, we did actually 3 English camps virtually. 2 of them were with Let's Start Talking. You can actually see, does this have a pointer on it? Is that the star? Yeah, right there. There's Alex helping out with that. He did a great job. The other camp that we did was Story of Redemption. I don't know if you know who James Norrid is. He was my lab partner in biology class in Oklahoma Christian many years ago. And anyways, he's put together these videos, which are incredible, and basically walks you through the story of the Bible or the story of redemption. And you can get online and you can watch these. We use these videos for an English camp 1 week. And then Guillermo has been using them as a weekly Bible study, virtually, because we couldn't meet in person for, well, they just went back to, the church where we are, just went back to in-person worship service about 2 or 3 months ago. So they were going for over a year virtually. There's Alex again, helping with the Let's Start Talking. I'm proud of that kid. He did a great job. I know he doesn't look like he's having too much fun there, but he had a lot of fun. I have done several classes virtually. One thing that I do a lot of is personality styles. Jimmy and I have talked about that, maybe doing that here sometime for the church. With church planting teams, with a master's class at a seminary for Latin America, for the class in the Bible college in Quito that my brother-in-law was the director of. Laura and I did a marriage seminar using the same personality style program 4 weeks in a row, 1 night a week on Saturday night for like 2 or 3 hours. And we did this seminar for these couples. And you know, if you've not ever really studied personalities, you all have recently married, right? Man, huge help to your relationship. Because you realize, oh, she's loco. And she's like, he is a lunatic, right? You come to these moments, and then once you understand these different personality styles, you're like, oh no, it's just because we're different. And it is a huge help. Saved our marriage, I think. Well, maybe not. It wasn't that bad. But it sure helped us a lot. Sure helped us a lot. Laura was doing a class for how many weeks? The whole month of June, just here a couple months ago, where she was teaching women all across Latin America. And what was the theme of your class?
Connecting with God through creativity.
Connecting through God through creativity. A lot of times what you see in Latin America is like when they do like ladies seminars or women's classes, it's all like the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And so she wanted to do something different. And so many women were like, wow, that's so refreshing to get something different. How do you connect to God? Through art or through poetry or just in your own creativity. Creativeness. So in the last year and a half during the pandemic, our family didn't actually go to a live in-person church that entire time. It wasn't until we came back to the States a month ago had they been to a live worship service. Because many churches, most churches in fact, are still going virtual in Ecuador. I, however, had an opportunity to preach a couple of times. This is a church out in the jungle on the northwest side of Ecuador in Telembi. We went out there and they invited me to preach there. I preached at a couple of other churches. This church is a new church. They had kind of broke off of another group, and 120 people there. This was just like 2 weeks or a week before we came to the States. 120 people there. They invited me to come and preach for them. And you can see these guys are still all wearing masks except the guy there in the middle. But before you walk into the worship service, they're spraying your hands down, you're taking your temperature, and everybody inside has their mask on. Usually right here. You can do it here, you can do it here, you can do it here, you can do it in several other places that I won't demonstrate. So we did have, we normally have a lot of groups, but we haven't had very many. In fact, since the pandemic started, I think we had 3 overnight groups come and stay at the camp, 3 or 4. And so this is Laura and Guillermo serving up dinner one night to the very first group we had back in April. You know, still taking all those precautions. And a lot of it, whether it helps or not, we're not 100% sure. But the people there feel like or think that it helps. And so as missionaries, you know, as Paul said, we didn't, well, what did Paul say? Thank you. All things to all men. And so, you know, as missionaries, you adapt to where you are and you do what the people there are doing. Okay, so we talked about community churches, now American churches or North American churches during the pandemic. How we received visitors. We've done a lot of work on the facilities, a lot of guest teachers and preachers virtually or in person, and encouraging many of the evangelists. We work with several evangelists and church planters, and they're out there on the front lines, you know, every day in this. We had, you know, King Graves there, the guy on the right. That guy right there, he's a missions professor at Harding University, was a missionary in Brazil. And this other guy right here, Michael Nicodemus, was a biology professor at Harding, now works for a Christian school out in California. They came down and to visit with the idea of possibly sending us interns or short-term mission teams. We went out to the jungle where Cumani is, out on the northwest part of Ecuador. We went out to the Amazon on the east side of Ecuador. We went to the place, if you ever heard the story of Jim Elliot, the End of the Spear movie. Elizabeth Elliot is a famous author. His wife, Jim Elliot, and 4 other guys were killed out on the river. And so we went out to that spot where they were killed and saw, you know, it comes more alive when you know what happened at this place many years ago. So we took them all around. Ken did a class for the Bible College. Michael gave a lesson to the evangelists out on the river in Cumani. And we showed them several different ministries that are going on in Ecuador. One of the groups that we hosted was a retreat for the Ecuadorian evangelists and church planters that we work with. And you can see here, that's Laura's mom and dad right there. They actually came down and they were the keynote speakers, basically. And they gave an excellent series of lessons on what's called a rule of life. And you know, we all like organization to some level, but spiritually, you know, our spiritual relationship with the Lord, have we ever thought about putting a little bit more organizational thought into that? And just kind of spending, you know, you can explain it a little better than I can, but it's putting more emphasis into your relationship with God in such a way that, you know, like when you go to work every day, 8 o'clock, that's what you do. Well, where's your time for God? And so, you know, just trying to organize your life a little better so that you can be more in tune with how God is working in your life. And then up here, the ugly guy in the hat. Okay, that's my brother-in-law, I can say that. And that's Laura's sister back there. They also came and helped. And then we've got several different Ecuadorian couples up there that we work with, church planters and church leaders in different venues that came to participate in this retreat. We had one team from North America. This is that team. They came down from Florida. They usually come down every year to do a 200-member youth camp. Well, they haven't got a chance to do that for the last 2 years. But they wanted to still come and help and serve and work. And so the 7 of them came down and man, did a lot of work. We started putting up 2 gazebos on the property. They called them outdoor classrooms, which is basically what they are, outdoor classrooms, so they can meet in their small groups during youth camp. The one guy there, right there, he's actually a plumber. He's got his own plumbing business, and he came in and we did a lot of reworking and replumbing different facilities there on the property. They also did some other things, passing out clothes and benevolence types of things with churches in our community. So it was a great blessing to have them. Another project that we did was cabinets for the kitchen at the Bible College. My brother-in-law was like, we need cabinets, and I'm like, I've got a carpenter, and he's like, I've got money. I'm like, okay, let's, you know, it wasn't quite like that, but so our carpenter at the camp basically made all of these kitchen cabinets by hand. I don't know how much something like that would cost here in the States, but it was a huge blessing. They're beautiful. This is actually a wood called laurel, which has a very dark heartwood, and then the exterior wood is light. So that's the actual color of the wood right there. I'm going to talk a little bit about this maybe in my sermon, depending on how much time I take. But we received a donation from a social service club. You all familiar with Rotary? So the Rotary Club in Livonia, Michigan, which is where Laura's parents are, they gave us some money to buy a brand new copy machine. Well, it's not brand new, it's actually refurbished. But for us, it's brand new. And so we've got this wonderful copy machine. It actually prints in color. And then over here we have a couple of dryers. There's also a washer that you can't see on the other side of the room there. So we had several donations for new equipment. And so that has been a huge blessing to us. These are the churches that support us. The Bellevue Church outside of Seattle, Washington is our main sponsoring church. The Hillsborough Church in Nashville has been with us longer than Somerset. They were the first church that started supporting us back in 2009. The Livonia Church, where Laura's parents are. The Fort Walton Beach Church, that's the group that came down from Florida. Shawnee Trail down in Texas. Holly down in Texas. Somerset right here in Somerset, PA has been with us the second longest of all of these churches. The Central Church in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You know where Manitoba is? It's in Canada. And they super cool church. There's like, you go there and you'll meet people from 20 to 30 different nationalities in this one congregation. It's almost like a little slice of heaven, because, you know, one day we're going to be there with people from every tribe, every tongue, and that to me is what it's going to look like. Another church up in Manson, Manitoba, and then we have 2 churches that support some of the evangelists that we work with, one in Huntsville, Alabama, the Farley Church, and another in Niceville, Florida. And we have several generous individuals that support us as well. And it is truly an honor and a blessing to be representatives for these churches, but more so for the Lord there in Ecuador. These are current things that we are raising money for. The church just recently took up a donation for us here at Somerset, and we are so grateful and so thankful for that. And you can see that we have several needs. These are needs for the camp. We have an engine to rebuild on a truck. We're trying to purchase another truck. We're working on a baseball field. You guys remember the baseball field? Yeah, DP. we need you to come back to finish it, DP. And we should have a picture in here. That would be fun. Yeah. We had to do some work on a cistern, which is not in the budget, but it was something that needed to be done. And that ran us about $4,000, so I'm trying to recuperate that. And then the camp wall fund. The city is widening the road, and so if we're going to lose the wall around the camp unless we're able to negotiate with our neighbors across the street to maybe purchase some of that land. So that's what we're trying to do, financially, but you can see there's a lot of different things there that we need help with. You all know how to connect with us. Just call Jimmy, because he's a superhero. But you all get our newsletters. I think this one that's back there is Operation Ecuador, right? So Operation Ecuador is kind of it's a title. It just basically means, I don't even know how to say it, but it's kind of an umbrella title. We're loosely connected works of the Church of Christ in Ecuador. Okay? And we call ourselves Operation Ecuador. And so my brother-in-law is part of that. The Bible College, his dad is part of that. We're on our way to Texas to go to the Operation Ecuador meeting. And so that's what that newsletter back there is. And then you're also getting our monthly mail-outs and the quarterly newsletter and the monthly prayer. Right. Okay, so y'all stay connected with us. We love to receive emails. Tell us what's going on, how we can pray for you. We're always needing prayers and other emotional support. One of the things that we love about Somerset is you guys are just great. And we certainly feel the love and the support every time we come here. And so we appreciate that. And believe me, there's a lot of ways you can help out, not just financially, but there's a lot of ways that you can help us out. And we'd love to get you on board with different things. So that's basically what I've got for you this morning, what we've got for you this morning. If you haven't been to Ecuador, that's a view from our dining room table. That's Mount Cayambe. That's 19,000 feet in elevation. And I've got it, when I get back, I'm probably going to have to cut down those trees so I can see the mountain. But any questions? Yes, Jimmy.
What's the best way for people to connect with you directly so that they don't have to go through me to get to you? Because that usually crumbles and falls apart. So if people want to encourage you, send you letters, send you emails, Facebook, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So personally, I mean, Facebook Messenger is a great way to communicate with me, with Laura as well. Email. If you have WhatsApp on your phone, it's an app called WhatsApp. Think of WhatsApp, okay? And it's basically a free message. You can call me on WhatsApp for free. If you have internet, right? Anyways, but that's a good way to communicate with me as well. If you do send a message, make sure you say, hey, this is Jimmy from Somerset, Because if you don't say Jimmy from Somerset, it'll just be, hi, Rusty, how are you? And I'm like, I don't know who you are. On WhatsApp, Obviously on Facebook, if we're friends on Facebook, then that would be obvious. And then if you want to get signed up for our newsletter, email Laura. She can just connect you to that, and so you can receive that. Jimmy receives it. You print it off, and But if you'd like to receive it directly to your email inbox, then we can do that as well. Okay? Any other questions? So, I have a question. You know, we're missionaries. We serve the Lord to the best of our ability, and we are not perfect. We are imperfect people serving a perfect God. That's my job, that's my career, that's my profession, but that's not the position of our heart. Our mindset should be such that we are all missionaries. And so, maybe it's not really a question. I want to encourage you all to find ways to serve God here. I'll talk about this a little bit in my sermon later, but you know, how are you serving God? How are you honoring God? How are you glorifying God right here where you're at? And I see some of that just in the little interaction that we've had over the last few days. But there's some I don't see, you know, as well. And I haven't had a chance to talk to all of you to figure out what's going on in your lives. But I want to encourage you to really think about, how can I glorify God today? In this next decision that I have to make, this next person that I'm meeting, this place where I'm going, how am I going to glorify God in this moment? Yes?
It might be an impossible question to answer, but do you foresee things opening up in Ecuador in the near future, or is that dependent on
Good question.
variants and all kinds of things?
Good question. We anticipate next summer being pretty busy. Maybe not as busy as it was pre-pandemic, but I think people, especially here in North America, are kind of itching to get out again, and they want to get back down there, and they want to go other places. However, we're pretty certain that Ecuador is going to require you to be vaccinated when you come. Like, that's going to be a government mandate from the Ecuadorian government. And so we've asked all of our groups that are coming down next year to be vaccinated if you're coming. And that's just the way it is. A lot of countries are going to be moving that direction. It's going to be required vaccination to even travel, I think. And so, you know, when you, as like I said, as Paul said, you all things to all people. When you're going to serve, you go and you serve, and that's serving God and glorifying God. That has nothing to do with my rights as an American citizen. That's a completely separate thing. How I serve and honor God is most important. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to do these things so I can go and I can serve these people and glorify God in the process. That's just kind of my sermon on that. But I do think a lot of countries are going to start requiring it to travel. And Ecuador, we think, is moving in that direction. But yeah, we've had already several requests for groups next year. Everybody that came down this last summer was vaccinated. The Ecuadorian population, for the most part, is going to get vaccinated. There's no politics really involved in their culture when it comes to.
Widely available now, or not yet?
It is actually. They're going to start offering it to 6-year-old up to 11-year-old starting in October, and that's pretty new. When we left, they had just opened it up to 16 and up. And so, like, when we left, Laura only had her first dose and wasn't able to get the second dose until after we got back to the States. So, yeah. I was able to get mine. They opened it up age group. But we thought for a while, because of our voting status in Ecuador, we don't actually vote in Ecuador. They were saying that foreigners, gringos, can't get vaccinated unless they voted, you know, and so we weren't sure if it was going to happen or not. But everybody we work with is vaccinated. The kids are going to start getting vaccinated. It's not even a question, honestly, in their mindsets. They know that that's an important thing to do, and they do it. And so, yeah. We have about a minute.
So we're hopeful that we can start offering the after-school program again, but I think when we do, we're going to start back as a Saturday program first. So offer it as like a kind of a fun day for the kids to come on a Saturday. for several months and see how that goes. And then if things seem to be going well, then we will try to go back to the 4 afternoon per week schedule. So that's the hope. We're going to kind of ease back into it and see how things go, which is what a lot of people are doing with their programs. Kids are going back to school in person if they want. So it's still optional in Ecuador to choose to do virtual. It has not been mandated by the government to every kid goes back to in-person school. So it's still, this year at least, or this first semester, it's still optional. So we'll just see. We kind of take our cues from what the schools are doing and see how that goes. So, but yeah.
Oh, and there's a lot of, during the pandemic, a lot of kids just ended up not going to school at all. I mean, they tried virtual school and it didn't work out, and they just kind of stopped attending school, But, one of the things Laura talked about in her class and that she did for the ladies, or was that a different group, was you can still use this as an educational time for your children, Teach them how to cook, teach them how to do stuff around the house and things like that. It's not wasted time, because those are teach them life skills that they're going to need as they get older, right? Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. We're happy to answer any other questions that you may have. So please don't hesitate to grab one of us or tap us on the shoulder and ask. God bless you all. Thank you.